And it was a good year for Artur Beterbiev.
Baterbiev just showed elite, world class.
Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora.
Was it a surprise?
Bloodbath. Yeah, I think it was.
I don't think you'll see him back in the ring.
Ben Oman, the monster, versus Lewis Nery.
Weird.
Alexander Usyk became undisputed champion.
Shocks, upsets, drunken people in the ring.
Welcome back to Boxcast. Today we're going to look back at 2024 and go through the fights we covered, some we haven't covered, and put up contenders for best performances in various categories. So I think the first fight we covered was Artur Beterbiev versus Callum Smith in the light heavyweight category. Where Beterbiev did what Beterbiev does. And it was a good year for Artur Beterbiev. What do you think, Si? He became undisputed by a bit.
Started 2024 off. Well, it was disappointing for me because I
think Callum Smith's was disappointing performance.
Yeah.
Because I think considering what Yard did, we thought Callum Smith would give a tough fight.
Beterbiev just showed elite, world class, what that separation
what the difference
is.
between world and elite. Yeah.
But, Smith's he's coming back in 2025 with a huge fight. Beterbiev, well, they're both on the same card, aren't they, for Riyadh? But no, Beterbiev basically, it basically got, once it got Smith out the way, there was only two people at light heavyweight, wasn't there? I think Smith was always in contention of them in them three. Although he was an outsider.
There was two of them that weren't there, so I think it was Yard and then him was there too.
But
and
I think you had Bivol, Beterbiev, and then just whispers of Callum Smith. But then I think once Beterbiev dealt with him, that was. It showed there's only two in the light heavyweight division.
They met up later in the year to
find out who was the best. I was disappointed with Callum Smith. I think he was disappointed in himself.
Mm-hmm.
But Beterbiev he put on a masterclass.
Did what he does normally.
That fight night. So fair play to
him. I think a lot of people expected it to be closer.
Yeah.
As we said after Anthony Yard's performance, but yeah, Beterbiev does what Beterbiev does.
He certainly does.
And started the year off with a good fight.
With a bang.
Exactly. And lit up the light heavyweight. The next fight we had was Jaime Munguia, who we were sort of bigging up towards the end of 2023 and in 2024 against John Ryder, which was a good fight.
Yeah.
And we thought it was like the start of Munguia showing his level. He did show his level, I think.
He did. We know how brave John Ryder was after he fought Canelo. And again, he was brave in this. But Munguia went on to have 2 losses.
Well, the next fight he had was against Canelo, which, all right, most people probably expected him to lose, although it was a close fight.
Yeah, he put up a good performance. But, a couple of weeks ago, we got beaten by, let's be honest.
Well, the surprise was, Canelo is Canelo, and then he had it against Bazinian, which was like 2 unbeaten champions. So, one unbeaten fighter, and he just been beaten by Canelo. Yeah. But, that's like understandable loss. You're against elite, which he did a good performance against Bazinian, won by KO again. And then, unfortunately, a few weeks ago, he had his hiccup.
Yeah, I mean, so he's had an up and down year. Mm-hmm. John Ryder announced his retirement after the fight.
Yeah, I think he was getting on, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it was that was a good fight, that as well, to be fair.
I think all of them were. And, well, I think Munguia's had a good year because, like, a loss against Canelo is a loss against Canelo.
But no, he hasn't had a good year, though.
He's fell off.
No, he hasn't had a
I think
good
the other
year.
ones are okay.
No.
Why, go on then.
Well, he's had 4 fights, 2 wins, 2 losses. That's not a good year. And let's be honest, the person he got beat by, no one's ever heard of him.
Well, he hasn't ended it in a good way.
Yeah, it's not a good year.
Well, his performance against Canelo was good. His performance against Ryder, well, he won. Bazinian was good. Well, he was winning this fight until that moment, and he's got taken by a punch.
Matter, he got beat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
2 wins, 2 losses, not a good year.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a good year financially for him.
Yeah.
But on his fight record, he's got 2 wins and 2 losses. Unfortunately, he's got to rebuild because he's...
Well, yeah, but a loss against Canelo is not like, everybody can recover from that, even in his thing. It's not a big thing. The loss against Saras is the one you've got to see what's there, because that was the one that was a shock. Yeah. I think if he'd have won that, it's quite a good year and his star still shining. I think it's fallen off a little bit with that because it was a shock result. And, we may be underplaying Saras because he might actually be really good, but we don't know. So, yeah, then I think the next fight we had was Teofimo Lopez, I think, against Jermaine Ortiz.
Yeah, in Las Vegas for the WBO Super Welterweight title. It was a unanimous points winner, if I remember. I think it was a dull fight, and that's why I don't really remember much of it.
Yeah, I think he was expecting to put a better performance, and it wasn't all that. It was quite close.
Yeah.
Although I think he did win, but it was close, and you could make a case the other way, which some people were against Ortiz. So, yeah. And to be fair, both his fights were a bit like that. Then he had a fight against Steve Claggett later in the year, in June, I think. Again, not something that comes to mind. I don't think either of his fights are fight of the year contenders.
Tia really needs to up his game in 2025.
Well, I think he's trying to call out some...
Tia calls out everyone, but never fights him.
He's Usyk now, isn't he? Or Fury. He probably wouldn't put it past him.
He needs to really up his game in 2025.
Well, I think he's calling out Crawford and Co and everybody, but I don't think they're going to go around. He needs to clear up in his division where he is and do something. But yeah, it's not the greatest of wins, but he's at least got 2 wins. And then we had the crossover fight, Joshua versus Ngannou. Which sort of set the record straight again about what boxers and what MMA fighters, UFC
well,
fighters,
it was a Riyadh season event, wasn't it?
Well, Ngannou was obviously buoyed up because towards the end of 2023 he had his fight against Fury.
Yeah, AJ took care of Ngannou.
A disappointing performance by Fury.
The more intriguing fights for me were on the undercard. You had Joseph Parker fighting Zhang, come off the canvas twice to beat him on point. You had...
I think that's a fight that's put Parker back on.
Yeah. You had Nick Ball getting robbed of his WBC featherweight title against Ray Vargas. It was declared a draw, but there was no way it was a draw, to be honest. And then you had Israeli Madrimov being crowned the WBA Super Welterweight champion with a 5th round stoppage against Kabanov. So it was a really good. It was a really good card.
Event. Well, we've sort of seen as the year goes on the cards for Riyadh season. The Saudis have even got better, and I think they've pushed other promoters and things to up their game because you've seen as the cards are getting better.
Yeah,
we'll get into that as we go along because it gets better and better.
Yeah, it did.
I think Joshua did what we expected Fury to do, and Fury didn't do against somebody who's not a professional boxer. So on this point, he was good. He does have a fight later, which we'll go into a bit later. And then we had a surprise: Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora.
Was it a surprise?
Bloodbath. Yeah, I think it was. I don't think if he gets the cut I think Tszyu was winning and would have won, but the cut allowed Fundora to take advantage, and he did take advantage. So good.
Yeah, 12-round split decision, I think. And was it on the undercard you had Isaac Cruz against Rolly Romero? Knocked him out in round 8. And Zurdo became the first Mexican to win a major title at cruiserweight. I don't think we covered that fight, but
we didn't cover that fight. No.
It is worth mentioning.
Well, we mentioned Zurdo
because Zurdo's had a good year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, we can go into Tszyu's. We're going to come back to Tszyu's fights, but yeah, I think his we were mentioning him in 2023 as potential upcoming person to watch in 2024, and I think he's had a worse year than Jaime Munguia.
As I predicted.
Yeah, well, we know you love the Aussie fighters. So that was a bit of a surprise, I think, but not that much. I think Fundora's star is rising, so Fundora's had a good year. And
again, no, I don't agree with that, because Fundora's only had one fight, hasn't he?
But he's got a unified champion. So
no, but he needs to be fighting.
Well, I think
more.
that like we said, there was a bloodbath, so they were both like suspended for a bit, so they couldn't fight for a fair amount of time.
Doesn't keep you out for 10 months. 9 months.
Well, I think they've had some issues in making fights as well in this division, because we can go. Well, this division we should mention is stacked. In super welterweight, isn't it? It's super welterweight, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just get who's in it. So we go. So you would think they would be able to make the fights, but like there has been, because you've got Mr. Crawford, Mr. Madrimov, Murtazalia, Fundora, Ortiz Jr., Boachuk, Tszyu, and a few others coming up. Conwell, Ramos, Mendoza, blah, 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 blah. Josh Kelly's in this division. There's a few others.
Don't count Josh Kelly. He's not in the league of them.
But in the division, I didn't say he was in the league. So even if you go for the first 5, 6, 7, there's a huge, 7 or 8. So it is a bit, like I said, it's a bit disappointing that Fundora hasn't fought again.
These fighters only fighting once a year. It's not good enough. I'm sorry, really, really isn't good enough. You should be fighting at least twice a year.
He should have got more in that. And that, like I said, there's no excuse there, because they're big fights. There's not like you can't, there's not somebody you can't get there. You can't make excuses for that. And then obviously we'll mention some of them later on, because they've had some of the other stars have risen as well. So then we did Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia.
Weird.
I think this was
that was one of them fights that you didn't know whether it was going to happen until the actual bell rang.
I think that would be good.
The build up, let's be honest, the build up was bad. Good because it was getting lots of eyes on it, but so bad.
And I don't think after the final result it got any better, because of
Ryan Garcia missed weight, and then Ryan Garcia failed drugs tests. I think
allegedly.
It was.
It was one of them really, really sore loser in Devon.
Yeah, it's just unfortunately it was one of them fights that it was.
I think both of them have ruined their reputations.
Yeah, it could have been fantastic, but because of basically what went on outside the ring, I want to forget about it.
Well, the fight itself was really good.
Yeah.
From both fighters. Haney coming back, even though he kept getting knocked down. And really, it should have made both of their stars rise. And unfortunately, because of the shenanigans before and after, they've both, I think both their kudos has gone down.
Yeah, they've disappeared.
They didn't get any credit from it. They both sort of... And again, neither of them have any more fights, which is sort of just forgettable then.
Yeah.
Disappointed. Yeah, go on.
I was just, like I say, with everything that went on outside the ring, it kind of, it made me intrigued and you wondering what was going to happen, but For me, it wasn't good for boxing.
I'm not that interested in watching either now. Whereas I was before, because
I'm not.
like I said, the stars have gone
really,
down.
really not. And I was a big Devin Haney fan. But how can I say this in a nice... In fact, I'm not going to say it in a nice way. He was like a little baby spitting his dummy out.
Yeah, and I really don't like that. I can understand his frustration.
But he didn't just have a go at Ryan Garcia, did he? He had a go. It was Eddie Hearn's fault. It was everyone's fault.
I don't like that. I can understand his frustration. But
a guy with such a talent.
And Garcia just this. Shame, because for the performance, he deserves more. Even Haney for coming back and keeping it going. Both of them should have, but anyway. So we won't mention them again because we didn't mention them again. They didn't do anything this year. We'll see if they come back in 2025. Then we had Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia. We've already mentioned.
Good fight.
Very good fight. Very good performance. Actually, at this point, Jaime Munguia was still good.
Yeah.
I think it was the knockdown really got that point down. I think it was a lot closer than what the cards say.
You're not going to win points against
But you're
Canelo.
not going to win points against Canelo on the close fight unless you're Bivol. And then, it's wider. So Canelo, did what Canelo does. And Munguia, it was a good performance. So no shame in that loss, at least. Then our man, the monster, versus Lewis Nery, which was a really... Well, it started off with a shock when Nery knocked him down. So it was a good fight. And then the monster... But it was good to see because then it was how the monster responded to that, because I don't think it's happened before in a professional fight.
Obviously Navarrete Inoue. Obviously, if people don't know, because if you've had your head in the sand, the monster is Navarrete Inoue. He let me down at Christmas, but hey ho. Well, he didn't let me down.
He didn't, his contender. Well, he should have had... He does do 3 fights a year.
Every Christmas, Navarrete Inoue gives me a Christmas present.
We thought we could have our Christmas Eve present.
Because he usually fights on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Early morning, which is usually great.
Well, 2023, we had his great fight against the Palace on Boxing Day.
Sit there with me bubble
this year
and
it was arranged. Well, in a way, we've got to give as well credit because he does try and do 3 fights a year.
He does, to be fair.
And they space them out nicely, and that's what he said. They're normally one near the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and then the Christmas bonus. Unfortunately, because his opponent has got injured, it's been put back and it's coming up in January. And we've got a video out on it, so watch that. We'll link it. And above or side or wherever we link them, we'll put that in there. And but this was a good fight. It was a bit of a grudge match because Nery was respected in Japan, but he was banned from Japan for fighting. He was more famous because of some alleged cheating going on.
Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It was a great fight.
But to be fair to him, both the performances, he got his credit back, so he's allowed, I think he's won back some respect. But Inoue did what Inoue does. And I think his star again rose from that performance. It was a great performance. Defense of his undisputed titles. So, and we should have been talking about 2 more of his fights, but we'll get into the other one later on. Lomachenko made an appearance for his 1 fight a year, which we don't like, against our favourite Kambosos Jr. Good performance.
It was a great performance, actually. I enjoyed that fight.
Looked like the old Loma was coming back, and then
he
hasn't done anything in the year. I think his age is catching up a little bit because I've seen yesterday that is the reason he hasn't done anything. He's had an injured back or something. So once it heals up, if it heals up properly, then he's going to fight in 2025.
I don't. Is he still IBF champion?
I think he's still a champion.
I don't know why IBF have very strict rules. So I don't know why he's still champion, because he should have fought at least a mandatory. A little bit disappointed. Yeah, all right, you can't help injuries, but
just check.
I don't think you'll see him back in the ring again.
Yeah, he's still IBF.
Not right.
Well, I think they haven't got a mandatory, have they? It's got a second. They haven't got and I think that's why it's slowed down. I mean, there are other people who fought in the division. Again, that division is quite stacked as well, the lightweight division. So we will see again. And yeah, we'll talk about the monster in a little bit. In one of the next fights. Just give me a second. I've scrolled past where we were.
Takes us to May 18th.
Does indeed. Big event. Riyadh season.
Most probably the biggest event of the year, I'd say.
It's the biggest event of the year at that point, anyway.
I'd say it was the biggest event. For undisputed, biggest event of the year. First time undisputed
heavyweight.
On the line.
Yeah. For a long, long time it hasn't been.
You had Fury Usyk headlining the bill, Opetaia against Marius Briedis, Anthony Kakachi against Joe Cordina, Berinchyk against Navarrete. Yeah. It was just a great card, great fights, shocks, upsets, temper tantrums.
Had a bit of everything. I think we can generally say had a bit of everything.
Drunken people in the ring, falling from pillar to post. It was just great.
Yeah. Where do we start with that one? Well, obviously we got Alexander Usyk became undisputed champion.
Yeah.
I think that was a really, really good fight.
After a great performance.
It started strong, then Fury came on in the middle rounds, and then Usyk just went away with it in the latter rounds.
Yeah, nearly knocked him out. Got denied a knockout, some people will say.
I say that.
There's controversy over the scoring, but there shouldn't have been. It was great. So yeah, that like tipped.
Well, I think the fair result, if you analyse it properly, is it's 2 rounds ahead for Usyk, and then you've got the extra point for the knockdown. So
yeah, so it was
3 points. So it is a close fight, and it was ups and downs. It was like I said,
it was a close fight. It was a great fight.
Fury took over, and then Usyk came back, adjusted, and came back. And deserved, I think. But both men deserve credit for a great fight. Opetaia Briedis was just as good, if not better.
Great fight.
Opetaia, the younger man, Briedis coming towards the end of his career, but still
tough as nails, Briedis.
Yeah.
And Opetaia had to learn a hell of a lot from that fight. And I think that,
from both his fights against him.
I think that shows in his few fights after that he's learned a lot from the Briedis fight. And it was, Opetaia was the clear winner, but it was a close fight.
Well, he started strong, as you would, the younger man, and I think Briedis has been out the ring for a bit. You could see it's a ring rust. But towards the end, Briedis was getting back into it, and then he's caught up a few rounds. I mean, Opetaia was the winner. I don't think that's contestable. But you never know, people contest everything. But yeah, he got back in, and it just shows how good Marius Briedis is. And then again, how good Opetaia is to beat him, how much he's learned from that. I think it's credit to both men in that fight. They were fantastic, and a fantastic fight build up for that. And then you mentioned a couple of the others.
Anthony Kakachi, big upset win against Joe Cordina. I think Joe Cordina was the favourite going into that.
I think we said that as well.
And Kakachi just basically steamrolled him from round 1 until he knocked him out. And he went on to have another big fight. He's against Josh Warrington. So interesting to see what happens in 2025 for him.
Yeah.
Berinchyk, stunning win over Navarrete for the WBO lightweight title, won by split decision. That was a great fight as well.
Yeah. 2 Ukrainian champions at lightweight, Berinchyk and Lomachenko, along with the 2 others who we're going to mention in a little bit, Shakur and Javonta. So that is a stacked division.
It was a great
and it was a great event, I think. That one. Keeps jumping. And then did we not have another event? The 5v5 was...
That was after.
Yeah. So...
You had 2 other big fights. Well, the biggest fights in May. On May 24th, you had Lawrence Okoli at the Bridgerweight division, which I'm still not sure about
died again now.
Yeah,
I think he's gone up to.
I don't know whether the bridgerweight division's died, to be honest.
I think they've said no, it hasn't picked up because he really hasn't done anything.
But then on the day after, you had Jack Catterall in the rematch against Josh Taylor.
Did we not cover him? I don't think we did that fight because maybe we were doing the 5v5s and the things.
But Jack Catterall got his, say, redemption, is I suppose more a better word, after the first fight.
From my point of view, it was that was a correction of what the first fight happened in the
that's what
first
I mean.
fight.
So we got redemption.
I don't think it was revenge. I think it was just what he should. Yeah, redemption. Was the better word. I think he won the first one, and this one he won more.
Yeah, he won clearly, to be honest. I mean, I think at the end you had Bob Avram coming in saying it was a disgrace for scoring. Get out.
I think there's a few promoters who come in to promote their guy like that.
Yeah, but it was a clear victory for Jack Catterall.
The first one was closer, but it was a victory for Catterall, and this one was much clearer victory for Catterall.
Yeah.
Catterall's a better boxer than Josh Taylor, at least on the two performances there. I think Josh Taylor is sort of waning, and Catterall is. And Catterall, hopefully, I think he's got a fight coming up in 2025 as well, and hopefully he will get into that contention.
Yeah.
But again, he's had
a good year, Jack Catterall.
Yeah. But he's in the stacked division as well, isn't it? So
yeah.
There's Tszyu's division. You got Haney, but we don't know where he is. Ramirez, we're going to speak about, had a good performance. Liam Paro was there, but he's gone out as well now. Hitchins' stock has gone up. Yeah, Richardson, Hitchins. So there's Tszyu, Richardson, Hitchins, Alberto Puella, and Jose Valenzuela, who are the champions. But I think Catterall has to be in that mix.
Yeah, I think is he fighting Barbosa?
I think it's Barbosa coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly. Big 2025 for Jack Catterall.
No, it was Barbosa beat Ramirez, didn't he? We've got later in the year. So it's, Barbosa's the higher one. The ranking's still, the ring ranking's still out of date.
Yeah, I think Catterall's fighting Barbosa. I think Catterall's fighting Barbosa next.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a big 2025 for Jack Catterall. So
I think he deserves some of the big fights. His good performance. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they do. And then do we get to the 5v5?
Yeah, June 1st, 5v5.
Eddie Hearn did not have a good night.
No, lost every fight. But Dmitry Bivol did retain his WBA IBO light heavyweight title against Zinad stoppage. But that fight wasn't on the 5v5.
No, unfortunately for Eddie Hearn.
But you had the return of Deontay Wilder against Zhang, and it just showed that Deontay Wilder's finished.
I think he's been finished after the Fury fights, really hasn't been there. Zhang did well, and then
Dubois, great performance against Hrgivic, which a lot of people had
surprised by.
Hrgivic was meant to win that fight. So, that was...
Dubois was not on our list because of his the worst 2023, but then he's come back and done quite well.
And you had the...
Was Shiraz on that?
Yeah, the man, Shiraz.
His star has risen definitely in 2024.
He's one to watch out for 2025.
He's got Carlos Adames coming up, world title
huge fight.
And then the rumours that then after that they'll be making a fight with the Kazakh-style Alam Hanoli.
Not ready for that yet. But
I think that's too early.
But hey ho.
But we will see. Well, Adames, we could say the same thing because it's an experienced guy. But we will see what his level is. But yeah, he's one to watch in 2025, we think. And he's had a good 2024. And yeah, Frank Warren had a good start in the 5v5 contest, clean sweep.
And I love the format of that, and I hope they do it again.
Yeah.
You also had Craig Richardson, Willie Hutchins on there, and Willie Hutchinson won.
Well, there's a few upsets because even we thought it would be, there should be one or two of them gone the other way, and then just clean
Nick
sweep was
Ball and Ray Ford were
good.
on
Which
there.
was another one where people thought was going to go the other way.
Yeah,
Nick
that was
Ball,
a great fight.
That was a great match.
Really was a great fight, and Nick Ball finally got his world title.
Yeah. Fantastic performance from Nick Ball.
So,
he's one, I think. Well, he's had a good 2024 and one to watch going forward.
Yeah.
And then we had Tank Davis versus Frank Martin, Gervonta Davis. On paper, look closer, but when you get in, Tank made it, just wore him down, made it look easy.
He did.
Although Frank Martin did have some good boxing, but then, just Tank.
Again,
worked
elite
them out and then,
world.
The difference between an elite fighter and a world-class fighter. Disappointment with Tank Davis, more fights we need. And I think he was supposed to fight Lamont Roach, and it's been delayed, and again, we don't know if it's going to happen.
We'll see.
But that division needs to sort itself out because it's an epic. There's him, Shakur, Berinchyk, Lomachenko, and others that need to come in. Then Benavidez, Gvozdyk. Benavidez went up to light heavyweight as he couldn't get a fight with Canelo. And Gvozdyk returned after quite a long layoff.
Yeah, outpointed him quite convincingly in the end, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think he started really well. I think the only thing about it was that Gvozdyk, he couldn't get him out of there, and then Gvozdyk came back towards the end.
Yeah.
Was still strong. Gvozdyk did look ring rusty and then sort of got into it. But, he is tough. He was one of the best light heavyweights until he met Baterbiev. So, I think good performance from Benavidez, but I think still things to improve on there. Seen today, this morning, that they're trying to make a matchup between... Well, he's got his fight, so the winner of if he wins against... who's he got coming up in a week or two?
Benavidez? I've forgotten his name.
David Morrell Jr., isn't it? Or whatever his name is, I think. They've got their upcoming fight, assuming he gets through that, and then he'll get they're trying to make a matchup with the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol.
I think Joshua Buatsi, Callum Smith might have something to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I think in light heavyweight, if we go into the light heavyweight division, I think Buatsi needs to do something. I think if he gets past those, he needs to be in that mix, I think, and probably in the mix with Benavidez. Problem is, I don't think any of them are better than the top two, but we will see what happens. Obviously, there's undisputed rematch.
Thing is if that goes just dead quickly, if that goes to Bivol, it's 1-1, so then it's going to be a rematch again anyway. So I think it'd be Benavidez, Morrell Jr. will face the winner of Callum Smith, Buatsi, and then the winner of that can fight.
I think that would make more sense.
In my eyes. If I was
I agree. I think that makes more sense.
If I was, had fights. Billions of dollars, that's what I'd do.
And then an upset, Subriel Matias versus Liam Paro, which is a really good performance from Liam Paro, and Matias couldn't do what Matias does.
Yeah, you had that. That was a good fight.
And sort of shook up the super welterweight.
Yeah, good.
Is it super welterweight? Super lightweight division?
Light welterweight division.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Shook that up a little bit, but but he's had a fight later and then reversed, and Matias has come back and won some of his fights. But yeah, it was a good performance and unexpected. Shock. Billiam-Smith versus Richard Riakporhe.
Yeah, good point win for Chris Billiam-Smith over a guy that had beat him in the past and just cemented he'd cleaned up
position in the cruiserweight division.
He'd cleaned up the British
side
guys,
of the cruiserweight.
And we'll discuss what he did next. But I
think that raised his kudos. Then what we'd have then, I think somebody whose star has risen, Bam Bam Rodriguez. I think he's come in 24 to most people's pound for pound top 10s.
Yeah, I mean, this kid's
and
just...
he's 2 fights. He had Estrada to go, because, I think he went up in weight. He was flyweight where he'd ended 2023 by taking the belt off Sonny Edwards, unifying. in flyweight, and then he stepped up this year to super flyweight in his first fight against Juan Francisco Estrada, who many consider one of the best in that division, or the best in that division, and taking his WBC belt.
Yeah, just knocked him out in the 7th round, didn't he? Plain and simple. Bye-bye.
Really good performance.
Was a great performance. Did he get knocked down himself in that as well?
I think so.
Yeah, but he said he enjoyed it. So.
He knocked Estrada down twice. He got knocked down. It was a close fight. It was a competitive fight, but yeah, it just,
he did
up. I think it's one of those where you start to think, yeah, he's not just world class, he's elite.
Yeah.
And then Pedro Guavera, who's dangerous as well, and he took him out in 3 rounds. And that was more one-sided.
Yeah.
Knocked him down twice, I think, and then
just
took
destroyed him, mate. Absolutely destroyed him.
And a lot of people expect that to be a tough fight. So yeah, we did mention him 2023 as one of upcoming. I think he hasn't disappointed. And in those lower weights, he's the rising star up to that level. Who else did we have? Then
you also had on that night Tszyu against Claggett, which
was a mare fight, but at least Tszyu won and
fight.
continued his thing. I think there was a lot of. I think we did say in our videos on there that we were disappointed with the levels of opponents.
And we go into July.
Yeah, and Shakur versus Artem Harutyunyan.
Yeah. We must mention Shakur had a fight in February as well.
Yeah, I was just going to try and get on man.
No, we didn't. I'm lying.
He was supposed to have fights, but then he's had injuries. I think he had injury after this as well, and I think he may have had before some issue with arranging. Let me just.
It was the fight on the same night. It was O'Shaki Foster because he got beat, didn't he? Which was a bit of a surprise. But Shakur's again, he's a bit like Tszyu. Shakur, you want to see him fighting more.
Well, I think they were aiming for 2 or 3 fights, and he's only had the one.
Yeah,
which he won the way he normally wins, unanimous decision. Yeah, it was fairly good, but not the most exciting performance in the world. I think he's one who needs to pick his game up in this year.
Yeah, definitely.
For his level. At Tank as well. And then that division needs to sort out a few things. So hopefully he'll come back, sort out his injury, and we can see him doing something. He is fighting on the February undercard of Beterbiev and Bivol, which is a stacked card. It was supposed to be against William Zepeda, who's had some good performances this year as well. I think on the undercard of one of their other fights. But Zepeda's got injured, unfortunately, so he's got another opponent. But we'll do videos on that later. That's 2025. Jaron Ennis against David Avanesian.
Yeah.
So he made his...
Good old boots. Knocked him out in the 5th round.
Yeah.
So Avanesian. We know Avanesian's past his best, but he's a tough cookie. So, yeah.
So I think Ennis is one to watch as well if he clears up welterweight division. Joyce Chisora.
Wow.
That's an epic performance from Chisora.
I
think this was set up as a comeback match for Joe Joyce to basically get his career back on track. And unfortunately, Del Boy decided to ruin the party, to crash the party. What can you say?
Loved Del Boy.
Yeah.
It was a great performance. It was a great fight. I think he's got Otto Wallen next.
Coming up soon.
I think he's going to have 50 fights, Del Boy, and then retire. He's quite highly ranked in all the rankings as well, which is...
Well, I think this has brought him back up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think. Because I don't think many people expected him to pull off.
No, look, Derek is always a bit like Frank Buno back in the 90s. He's like a national treasure, isn't he? And we want to see him.
You know what you're going to get. Yeah. You always get it. And then in this, he added a little bit more.
And I think Usyk was at ringside, wasn't he, that fight?
Well, Usyk's a big fan of him.
Yeah, so that was
I think
great.
now even Chisora's a fan of him.
Yeah.
It's like,
And just a quick mention on July 27th, I know Clarissa Shields won the WBC heavyweight world champion to become WBO light heavyweight champion, middleweight champion, junior middleweight champion, super middleweight champion. So, I mean, wow, Clarissa Shields going up 5 weight divisions to become heavyweight champion is some. You know, we go on about Katie Taylor and things as in women's boxing, but Clarissa Shields is. I know some people don't like her, but wow, you can't take away anything from what she's got. So yeah, it was quite a good July.
And then we had another big Riyadh
season USA.
Crawford, Madrimov headlining. And then quite a lot of other good fights. I think Ruiz Jr. versus Jarrell Miller and Jared Anderson versus Bacoli on the heavyweight side. And then we had Isaac Cruz and Valenzuela and David Morrell and Kaladzic as well. So it was like the start of the epic undercards, really. I mean, I think they built it up, but here you push it up, and they're all really, really good fights and performances. So if you start with the main one, Crawford Madrimov, close fight. I think credit to both.
Very close fight.
I mean, there's a bit of contention, but I do think Crawford won, although close fight. So
Crawford didn't impress me.
I think it depends on what Madrimov does next, because if he was supposed to be fighting actually here, but unfortunately it's had to be cancelled because he's got bronchitis. So he's on the February undercard against Virgil Ortiz. So I think that should be a good indicator of where he is and where Virgil Ortiz is. And Crawford again, we need to see. Although I don't think he needs to do that many, but
he does. I think if you're a world champion and you've got belts, you should be fighting. I'm sorry, you just should be. Because people put themselves in mandatory positions.
Well, I don't think that you need mandatory here. The unification. If you look at the people who've got the belts and all the things. Well, Fundora hasn't. We've already said he's only done one.
Yeah, exactly.
Crawford's only done one. Madrimov would have done more than. He would have had 3, but unfortunately he's missed one this year. But he has got one coming up, and he's had 2 fights where he's won and then lost the title. But I think his name is still there, so it was a good
So basically,
fight.
if you only want to fight once a year, win a world title, is basically what
and
we
then
say.
Stop.
And I don't agree with it.
Well, our undisputed man tries to fight 3 times in it, now anyway, so...
I just think it's a disgrace, and especially if you're calling yourself pound for pound king. No, don't agree with it. You should be fighting more, so... But...
Yeah, in the division they've got in there, in that super
be fighting more.
welterweight, it's stacked. So there should have been more fights in it. But we're going to mention another one coming up in a bit. So should we do first? Jared Anderson, Bacoli was there. I think Bacoli made his name.
Bacoli, the most.
I don't think many people want to have a fight with him. I think he's the most avoided.
Most avoided heavyweight in British boxing, not just in British boxing, in world boxing.
And I think they are trying to make. Is he on the card of the thingy, or he's coming up? He's got to have a fight made.
Well, there was a talk from fighting Zhang, and then it was fighting Kabayel, but it's worked out that Zhang's fighting Kabayel.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what's next for Bacoli. Just get him out.
I think we need to see some fights with him for that performance. Because
Jared
Anderson was one of the names.
It's one of them. It's just get him out and get him fighting. Throw him back in with Michael Hunter, who beat him.
Anybody I would like to see.
Just get him out. Keep him ticking over.
Ruiz Jr. Miller, I think that was more really
quite a boring
Miller
fight, wasn't it? And I think
Miller was boxing. Ruiz was boxing up to a point, and then Miller came back in, and Miller got better as the fight went along, and Ruiz seemed to have gassed out. He started really well and went, which I think that one was more credit to Miller because he was disappointing in a few and he's come better.
So.
And Ruiz was, it didn't really help the cause. Valenzuela beat Cruz, Isaac Cruz, I think, was it on points? Outboxed him.
I think I predicted that.
I think you did, which was against what most people thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
That was quite good because you had Cruz doing what Cruz does, but Valenzuela just, outboxed
Was
him.
superb.
Really good, superb performance.
I'd like to see more of him in 2025, Venezuela. I think he's a good boxer, really good boxer. So, I would like to see a lot more of him.
And they've got a good division as well, so we need to do more. And Morel versus Kladzic, which was tough fight. Kladzic tough, but Morel was, I think, came through it. So it's a good indicator that he is a contender in that division.